Welcome to the Early Warning Systems Training Series. This video is prepared by staff at the Everyone Graduates Center based at Johns Hopkins University in partnership with the New Mexico Public Education Department and the High Plains Regional Educational Cooperative. The videos and breakout activities are designed to help your school team plan, design, and conduct regular early warning system problem-solving and implementation activities. This video will focus on interventions, which we are describing here as the supports and activities that are being completed for a particular student or group of students. This will include how school teams can collect data on the interventions that have been implemented and engage in a regular review process to identify gaps, align interventions, examine impacts, and ultimately improve the supports that are being provided to students. If you have not done so already, please watch video number 3, Linking Indicators to a Tiered Intervention System, which provides an overview of a multi-tiered system and will help your team map out the resources you have available and where you may need new resources or strategies. The initial process for intervention analysis to be effective is to ensure that your team has regular, consistent ways to monitor what supports are occurring, who is completing them, and when they are occurring. We recommend examining each of these 3 methods. The first method is for interventions assigned within an EWI meeting or student intervention discussion. As discussed in the overview of EWI meetings in video number 4, titled Planning for Your School and District, the team should review data, share observations, and identify the appropriate intervention for each student. An intervention point person or champion, the intervention itself, and a follow-up date should be recorded in your intervention tracker. Schools often add a variety of other sections, and we have found that many sites find a notes section particularly helpful. The document to record information, which we have referenced as an intervention tracker, can be housed in a variety of places, from a binder or Word document to a spreadsheet or web-based form. When this information is included in a spreadsheet, it will be easier to compile for analysis later on. Schools we have worked with have used Microsoft Excel spreadsheets, Google Sheets, and Google Forms to enter these interventions, and we recommend that you explore these options as they provide a benefit for analysis. There are also spaces for entry of interventions in many commercially available student information systems. The second method is for interventions that are assigned outside of EWI meetings. These interventions often last for a longer duration of time and may include an intervention course for reading, a club that a student belongs to, or formal counseling that a student is connected to. While the basic information that is collected on these interventions is the same, we have seen sites add in columns for attendance so that they may get a better idea of the student's interaction with the intervention or support. The third method is for interventions or initiatives that are geared towards the entire school body or an entire grade. These are often more challenging to monitor, but are an important part of whole school supports in an early warning system. For example, a school in New York City had selected 5 to 10 days throughout the fall semester that were particularly challenging for attendance in previous years and would be targets for initiatives. These included Fridays, the days before Thanksgiving, and the days preceding winter break. The monitoring for these initiatives was much less intensive than the other methods, and the team made sure to document which days they were targeting, to record the attendance on those days, and to keep a copy of the initiatives and activities that occurred. The second step in the process is an intervention gap analysis to examine the information collected over the course of the school year. This is often done on a monthly or quarterly basis as part of a review of student progress. The goals are to identify if there are any students who are sliding or off track, need support, and are not currently receiving an intervention, and to identify any trends where additional interventions or supports may be needed. Any gap that is identified may be from a lack of resources, a need to readjust current whole school or small group initiatives, or assign interventions in a different way. In the chart here, you see the first 6 students were off track in quarter 1 in attendance. Notice that 2 students did not have attendance supports and would be good candidates for an attendance focus list in the second quarter. However, while this gap is important to identify, the response may vary depending on the number of students identified. For instance, if there are 5 students who are off track in attendance and don't have any intervention support, this could be solved by pairing these students with someone who will complete home visits and make regular wake-up calls. If there are a large number of students who are off track in attendance, the best solution may not be an individualized one, but to try additional whole school strategies, similar to the example we mentioned about a New York City school, where student interests and feelings of safety were encouraged rather than trying to go student by student in solving the challenge. The third step is to review the interventions based on who is conducting them and best fit between the student's needs and the interventions attempted. In order to complete this step, you will need your intervention tracker and general information about the number of students on and off track. We have used these 3 initial questions to begin the investigation of interventions at a school. We will be sharing sampled charts from another school for you to examine as part of this activity. The chart labeled School-Level Interventions was created from a school's intervention tracker. As you can see, their 2 most common interventions are home contact and referral, which was a referral to the counselor. Based on this information, it led the team to further questions about why students were being discussed, and ultimately, they decided to provide their teachers with help conducting interventions within the classroom environment, as course performance was their most common indicator of concern. All 3 of these questions can help guide the initial investigation into how interventions are assigned, if any additional interventions are needed, and lead to further investigation of what type of work is leading to student impact. At this point, please stop the video for 3 to 5 minutes to examine the sample intervention charts and answer the questions that correspond to each chart. If you already have your own intervention data, you can also discuss that at this point. The final step in the process is to examine whether students in certain interventions were more successful than others. With a robust data collection system set up from the beginning, the school team should be able to create tables that show progress as compared to interventions used. As in the previous step, it will be helpful to have students' on and off track status or actual ABC data in the same spreadsheet as the student's intervention data, as shown in the chart on the screen.
Along with this Tier 1 attendance impact analysis, we also looked at Tier 2 and 3 attendance intervention impact. So going back to that global focus list, we were able to use the Excel filter to isolate specific interventions. We looked at student attendance, behavior, ELA, and math progress from before and after that intervention was assigned. And then we were able to just get very simple success percentages based on how many students improved. So while this percentage doesn't necessarily give us the whole story about how successful an intervention might have been, it did give us a really good starting point for engaging in more in-depth conversations about Tier 2 and 3 attendance intervention effectiveness.
The table shown now was created using Microsoft Excel. First, the information in the spreadsheet was filtered to include only attendance interventions. Second, a table was created from the information by counting how many students improved in each intervention. A similar chart can also be created using the pivot table function in Excel. As you can see, about half of the students who had an attendance mentor improved in attendance, and about 75% of the students who had a mentor and a home visit improved. You can complete this process for each of the interventions that your team has undertaken, or you may select the most common interventions to examine. While we can't definitively say from this information if the intervention caused the improvement, it will give your team better information about when and how students are improving. For the group interventions or whole school initiatives, the process of determining impact may be more challenging, especially in behavior and course performance, where impact will be seen across longer periods of time. For attendance, the most common approach that we have seen is when certain days or time periods are targeted because they have been a challenge for attendance previously, as was mentioned in the New York City example earlier. 2 other opportunities are to track the number of students with 100% attendance as you recognize and celebrate 100% attendance each month. And second, to track the attendance of a grade level or homeroom as you hold competitions and recognize groups for their collective attendance. For behavior and course performance, we recommend looking at trend data across a certain time period or for a particular component of one of these. A behavior example we observed was a school that held peace rallies, taught lessons, and tracked the number of days without a referral for student-to-student conflict. A course performance example we have observed is a month-long initiative to ensure homework is completed, which included before and after school help sessions. Each week during the month, they examined homework completion rates of each grade level. This concludes our video on interventions and analyzing intervention data. If you would like information on creating a data system, the key pieces of data that are needed, suggestions for organizing the data, and creating focus lists that help your team respond to the data, please watch video number 2, Building a Data Culture. As early warning systems are used more frequently across the state of New Mexico and across the United States, we will continue to learn more about the interventions and supports that have the biggest impact on students' improvement in the ABCs. Our experience, research, and observations have led us to believe that schools doing analysis of their own interventions and strategies will help inform not only their own work, but the work nationally to ensure that more students are on track for graduation and post-secondary success.